There you go. And Steve, you know I'm technologically challenged. All right, that's better. That's a better setup. Good morning, Rose. Thank you so much for joining me on YouTube this morning. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So today I want to talk about. First, look what I got. Look at my new mug. Can you guys read that? I know the words are backwards. That's messed up. Anyway, it says you need to get your cousins. For real, for real. This is my new favorite mug, y'all. It's my new favorite mug because all the time at this table, I'm talking to you and I'm like, you know what? It's not my responsibility to get your family in order. It's your responsibility to get your family in order. You guys have heard me use that. You've heard me use that when I'm talking about the whole black-white issue and racist or white people's responsibility to check other white people. And it's not our responsibility to have all these conversations. And it's just not, right? You've heard me use it in that sense, but you don't understand. I use that to reference everybody. So I had a coworker, Philip McCants. When I would work with him, anytime somebody was acting a fool, I would tell him, you need to get your cousins. I say that to everybody about anything. Anytime somebody is acting a fool anywhere, I make that person related to you. So it's not a black or white thing. So I love that. My other mug that I'm drinking out of today, this is really, this phrase is really near and dear to me because this thought is really near and dear to me because it is exactly what has happened at this table. So this says, let's see, sometimes you find your purpose. Turn around because this tea is hot. I don't want to drop it. And sometimes your purpose finds you. This, you all, is what tea time is. And then I have the little tea time logo on the side. Uh-oh, can you guys see it? This is what it's all about. Right, Rose? Everybody says that. Get your cousins. Get your cousins. I love this new mug because we have to be open to things that are placed in front of us that maybe we were not open to, that maybe we weren't even looking for, right? I wasn't looking for tea time. I just wanted somebody to talk to. Look at what has landed in my lap. This community that we have has landed in my lap and I have run with it. And you guys are running with me, right? Because you know how people say, it's a joke that when black folks say run, you run. You don't ask questions, you just run. I feel like that's how everybody at this table has done. I said run, and all of you all took off with me. Like, I don't know where we're going, but I'm going. That's what I'm doing. I don't know what we're doing, but I'm going to be right there with you. That's right, Rose. It happened organically. Sometimes you find your purpose. Sometimes you go out with this one idea of what your purpose is. You find that purpose. And then other times, your purpose is like, bam, here I am. I'm here for you. This is what we're going to do. I know you were headed off in this direction, but this is the direction I need you to go in. This is what I feel like tea time has been. So I love my new mug. I love my new mug. All right. Now, what we're supposed to be talking about today, I was talking to Tobiah, who's going to join us at the table in July 11th. He's going to join us at the table in July 11th and talk about his participation with the Black Panthers, how he got involved with the Black Panthers and what that meant for him and for his life and how he's grown and developed since then. And he was there. Remember I said that I keep asking you guys if you have something you want to talk about at the table to let me know. Well, Tobiah was saying, Kai, what I think would be a good idea, a good thing to talk about would be talking about being at the table, having dinner time, having that time at the table with family dinners. So I want to ask you guys, how many of you sit down at the table together with your children or your loved one, your significant other, at dinner time, not breakfast or lunch, but at dinner time? Do you sit at the table together with no media No music, maybe a little background music would be okay. Maybe some white noise would be okay if it's music. But no TV, no cell phones, nothing. How many of you are doing that right now? Habitually every day, sitting at the dinner table together. Good morning, Crystal. We're on YouTube today as well. So join us on YouTube if you like, or you can stay here. I would like to eventually move my talk over to YouTube. Facebook got issues. Facebook founder has issues. So, how many of you answer my question? Put your answer in the comments, either on YouTube. Tony says never. Crystal says, Auntie, let me borrow those overalls. This is a dress, Crystal. It's a dress. And I just have, it's fly. Anyway. You can have it anytime you come visit. Good morning, Nisha Jackson. Welcome to the table. So how do you get me on YouTube? Elaine, I posted on the page, on the Tea Time with Kai Talks, I posted the link to my YouTube channel. So you should just be able to go to the Talks page and go to my post from this morning and go to the YouTube channel. Rose says, not so much, but yesterday I had dinner with my baby brother and his wife. It was great. We don't do that anymore. We don't sit at the table, and I'm saying we because I'm talking for everybody. Adrian says, I grew up with every dinner at the table. Ryan and I sit at the table with nothing when it's a nice dinner. So that's good. That is so good, Adrian. That foundation of sitting at the table together is so important in the growth and development and the connection. So it's important in the growth and development of our kids, but it's also significantly important when you don't have kids in your connection to your loved one, to sit at the table together. Now, I'm not good at it. Karen says we don't eat at the table. We eat in the living room. Right, but is the TV on, Karen? When you're eating in the living room, is the TV on? Because there's something to be said about being comfortable in the living room. Now, when I went to France one year, they ate in the living room, but the setup in France it's that France homes aren't typically as huge as they are out here. So I wish I could find this table. I searched and searched and searched for this table, but I couldn't find it. But there was a coffee table. It was like a square coffee table. And there had these little stools that would pull out from under the table. So everybody would sit at the coffee table for dinner, but it was really the size of a dining room table in terms of width. And in terms of its dimensions were the size really of a dining room table. But it wasn't as high. So you would sit low to the ground on these little stools. So comfortable, actually. The first time I've ever been that comfortable. And it was at 2 homes. So I think it's really a France thing. You say you got one at Ashley Furniture. You know what? I've searched. Good morning, Ramona. I've searched, and I don't know if it's the exact same one, but I would want to look and see. So eating in the living room isn't necessarily the problem, unless you're eating in the living room with the TV on, answering your phone, really being connected to social media or any media, right? Bina says, I eat at the table with or without family is how I grew up. Great, Bina, great. Karen says, sometimes the TV is on or we listen to podcasts. So the thing about, so you are one step close. Well, I'm probably right there with you too, Karen. Actually, I'm worse. I sit on the couch and the boy sits at the dining room table, but small space, so it's a living room, dining room combination, so it's really close to each other. But I want to read you just a couple of facts, right? These facts are a little old because the research, the paper that I'm reading it from is from a couple of years ago. So these numbers have probably changed since. I just didn't have time to get current numbers. So it says, this is an article that was written by Dr. Don Meyer, who says, family dinners are more important than play, than story time and other family events in the development of vocabulary of younger children. And that's from Harvard research done in 1996. So like I said, it's outdated, but I would still think that that's pretty important. A pretty important thing is to have those family dinners. And think about it. So when you're at the table with your significant other, let's say the family is mom, dad, and children at the table. So when the family is mom, dad, children at the table, the children are sitting at the table and they're listening to the parents converse. And their vocabulary is developing based on the words that they're hearing mom and dad use, right? So we are helping our kids more by taking away the iPad and the little game system and the phones, taking all of that away. No, let the kids be at the table and pay attention to what the parents are talking about. Now, pick things that are probably going to be interesting a little bit, at least to the kids, right? But it helps their vocabulary grow. Crystal says, I let the kids tell me stories at the dinner table. We just make up funny stories and take turns telling them. Right. But do you sit at the dinner table every day, Crystal? You're going to impress me if you say yes. Don't lie. Don't lie. um, the other thing is that sitting at the dinner table contributes to a good relationship with food. So when you sit with your family, you eat dinner at the dinner table, you are contributing to the healthy behavior of your children, healthy eating habits of your children. It's some like 60 years ago, the average dinner was around 90 minutes. The average dinner took around 90 minutes. Now, this was written about how many years? 6 years ago? 6 years ago. This article was written about 6 years ago. So 66 years ago, the average dinner took 90 minutes. Guess how many minutes the average dinner takes now, or at least 6 years ago, right? Guess. Just somebody throw some numbers out there. Guess. Because I was really appalled. Really appalled. I am waiting for you guys. Throw me some numbers. Karen says, we have very odd conversations. I'm so guilty. While I wait for you guys to put your guesses in there, because I want somebody to guess. Rose says 20 minutes. Just give me a couple of more guesses. I know, don't you hate when people say, guess how many? Adrian says 35 minutes. Ooh, you guys are being so kind. Rose says, or 5 minutes. The average family dinner now is 12 minutes. 12 minutes. It used to be 90 minutes. And when this article was written 6 years ago, it was down to 12. Good morning, Chelsea. What the heck? How is it that we are contributing to a healthy society, a healthy family, healthy behavior, healthy eating habits, all of this, healthy grades, good grades, kids who sit at the table and have dinner together with their families tend to have A's and B's on their report cards. Now, why is that? Why is that? Crystal says, no, they do though. Well, whenever I cook dinner. Yeah, see, now we're getting down to it, Crystal. And either me or Jamari will sit on the couch, or we both sit on the couch. We need a new table. Okay. So that's the thing. So your focus, because your focus is on healthy family development, healthy family interaction, should be to get that new table right away. Because it's not okay that the kids sit at the table together. The benefit is when mom and dad sit at the table with the kids, or mom sits with the kids, or dad sits with the kids. That's the benefit. So it's not just the fact that you have a table, but at the table, think about what we're doing at this table now. We just have tea time at this table. And Rose says, yes, no wonder we are obese. That's right. That's right. We are rushing through our food. We have nothing to say. We have no time to talk to each other. Good morning, Maida. Thank you for joining us. We have no time to talk to each other. We have no time to figure out what's going on. How do I get to know what's going on with my child? If he spends his all day at school and then comes home and does homework and then goes in his room and plays games or does whatever and then sits at the dinner table by himself while I sit on the couch. I think there was, I don't want to quote the number, but there was another quote that said that the average parents spend 30-something minutes, I think, a day talking to their kids, in conversation with their kids. Imagine out of 24 hours in a day, all you have is like 35 minutes to talk to your kids. How do you connect with your kids if you're not spending time finding out in a very informal situation? In a very informal situation, how are you helping them? How are you coming to understand who they are and what they're going through? But also important, Maida, we are also on YouTube. That's why you see me looking over to the side. I'm talking to YouTube. I'm talking to you. I can't have them sitting next to each other, unfortunately. Um, Karen says we often cook together and continue our talks over dinner. Fantastic. The other thing that's important to understand is remember how when we were growing up, I know when I grew up now, everybody didn't grow up the same way. When I grew up and then when I was raising my older kids, because there's a big gap between the older two and the youngest one. We as kids got plastic plates. We got the kids' plates. When I got in plastic cups, because you can't break the good dishes. You can't break the good dishes. You can't break the good cups. And kids always dropping things. And um, so we had plastic. Let me ask you so when I had when I was pregnant with my youngest, I was going no when I think I had already had him, and I went to a friend's, Chelsea's, my daughter's friend's home for dinner. Her boyfriend's family invited us for dinner, and I think it was the boyfriend or maybe it was somebody else. Anyway, it was one of her friends, and we went over there, and they had regular dishes. And the dad was taking the dishes and he was warming the dishes up in the oven first, like a restaurant, warming the dishes up in the oven, taking the dishes out of the oven, putting food on the plate, and serving us. And his thought was, how do my kids learn to eat off of good dishes if I never give them good dishes to eat off of? So we get upset when our kids go to a restaurant and don't know how to behave at the table. But when did they learn how to behave at the table? Do we set the table? Do we even know what the proper table setting is? Do you know where the fork, spoon, knife goes, where the napkin goes, where the cup is supposed to go, and where the bread plate goes? Do you know which bread plate is yours? Do you know which cup is yours? Some of us do, but way too many of us don't. Way too many of us don't. Rose said we had the good set and the set we didn't mind getting broke. Right. Steve says 12 minutes. It took me that long to sneak my rice over the green peas I didn't like on my plate. Then after getting busted by my mother, then I had to sit for hours until I ate them. Right. You sit at a table till you finish all this food. I got you. That's the thing. We expect so much. We expect so much from our kids or our grandkids, and yet we don't put much into them. We don't condition them to know how to sit at the table and participate when grown folks are talking, or not when grown folks are talking. We want them to engage with us in conversation when we want them to engage with us in conversation, yet they're not supposed to talk when grown folks are talking. Like, how does that work? We want them to sit at the table at a restaurant and know which fork to use first, know where to put their cup, to know to have their napkin in their lap. Do we give them a napkin at home to put in their laps? Or are we just showing off when we go to a restaurant, put your napkin in your lap? Poor child is like, for what? What I need a napkin for? Do we give them a napkin at home? Do we train our kids in the house the way we want them to behave when they leave the house? Or are they sitting at the table like this? And I know this isn't a phone, but I'm on my phone. Don't take the phone away from the 18-month-old. Oh, have mercy. Have mercy, the child would throw a fit. How have you trained this child? Now, I'm not against giving a child a piece of paper at the table to draw on when the grown folks are really in conversation, having the kids talking to each other, playing little, having the little papers. I'm not against that. But that still has them hearing the conversation, right? But when you give them electronics, they're not hearing the conversation anymore. They're only engrossed in their electronics. And you haven't taught them to sit at the table and be a part of this thing we call family. You have taught them that we have this thing we have called family, and you're always over on that side, and I'm always over on that side, and that's how we do family. Elaine says, I have solved the problem by getting some really great tin plates with designer quilt patterns on them for little ones so they have happy special dishes and I have peace of mind. Rose says, man, I had napkins and floor mats. I did not grow up with napkins at the table. Look, okay? I did not grow up. But, somehow I knew how I was supposed to act when I was out at a restaurant. But I didn't grow up with napkins at the table. I didn't know what to do with the napkin at my table. Like, oh, okay. So it's so interesting because and turn off the TV. I don't care if it's educational. I don't care if it's educational. Turn off the TV, engage in conversation. And if you have a hard time, like mine, listen, this is for me. Sometimes I come to the table and I'm, y'all, we don't, and really what you should be hearing is I don't, right? But it's a collective. So, I have to practice this more often too. I have to make sure that I sit down at the table, make sure that I'm spending time in conversation. Chelsea says, no electronics at the dinner table. That was always the rule. Trent and I have the same rule, so we aren't the couple that's on our phone the whole time. We actually sit and talk with each other. Karen says, my daughter would often take a book to restaurants. Yes, Karen, that was my daughter too. That's Chelsea. She would take a book. And I'm okay with books. I mean, you can't, we have this, we want kids to sit perfectly still while we are engaging in these conversations. Well, those little crumb snatchers are bored. So give them something to do. Just don't have it be electronics. Give them something to do, but have it be something where they are able still to hear, and sometimes let the kids engage in the conversation. Let it be a conversation meant for them to engage in. This is a family gathering. Stop having those conversations at the table with the kids that the kids can't be a part of. Dinner time should never have a conversation at the table that the kids can't be a part of. Dinner time is not the time to say kids should stay in their place and stay out of grown folks' conversation. No, we are all sitting at the table together. Everything said at this table is for all of us to engage in. And if it's not for all of us to engage in, we'll talk about it after dinner. After the kids have been excused from the table and can go off to their room and play and do whatever they want to do. After that, then you engage in grown folks' conversation, not at the dinner table with the kids. Anthony said, Elaine says, no cell phones at the table. Anthony said, our cloth napkins were for company or holidays. Right. We had napkins on holidays, right? Or special dinners. Rose says, there are dinner parties where the kids should be somewhere else. Right. Right. And when it's a dinner party where the kids should be somewhere else, yes, absolutely. Kids need to stay in their place, stay out in the kids' conversation while the grown folks have conversation. But too often, especially as a single mom, I'm in situations where I have the kids or now the kid with me. I can't really expect that he's not going to be a part of the conversation. He's sitting at the table. Why am I talking about something that he can't participate in if he's sitting at the table? And how does he learn to have proper conversation if he's not allowed to join in the conversation at the table? Venus says, kids should be engaged at the table. No books, toys, or electronics. Yeah, I agree. I agree, Bina. I think the no books is a little hard sometimes. I definitely will stick with the no electronics. I'm going to sit with what you're saying because I really do agree with you. I'm thinking about how that would play out with mine. So this is what I think about that. I agree with you. And I think that if we're going to take away in like the books or the toys, I don't really agree with toys. I mean, I don't really think toys should ever be at the table. I am okay with a pencil and a piece of paper, to draw or to write something. I am okay with that, but not really bona fide toys. But what I want to say is I agree with you if the conversation at the table is always a conversation that the kids can be engaged in. So If the rule is going to be the kids should be engaged and the kids should not have books, toys, or electronics, then the parents, the adults at the table, have to be committed to making sure that the conversation is such that everybody can be involved in and to involve the kids. But in my experience, especially because I have a lot of friends who don't have kids, they'll want to talk about stuff that's not really for the kids, but there's kids at the table. So the way to do that is, okay, give the kids their electronics and we'll talk. Well, no, I don't want to do that anymore. If I've done it in the past, I don't want to do it anymore. If we are sitting at the table with the kids, we're getting ready to engage with the kids. That's what we're going to do. So I want to move. I think I'm halfway there, Bina. I think I want to get the rest of the way there. I do. I think it's very beneficial. Right. People want to have not kid appropriate conversations with kids sitting at the table. And when I say not kid appropriate, I don't even mean that they're saying, off the wall crazy things, but just not things that are engaging for a child. Right. So Winston Churchill said, I'm going all the way back to Winston Churchill. I probably could have found some other folks too, but I had limited time. Winston Churchill said, there is no doubt that it is around the family and home that all the greatest virtues, the most dominating virtues of humanity are created, strengthened, and maintained. And yet we're shortchanging folks by giving them only 30-something minutes of our time a day in conversation and only 12 minutes at the table if we are even at the table. Rose said he's old enough to hear what you're talking about. They won't learn if you don't let them hear. Oh, yeah, mine is now. Absolutely. Mine is now. I'm happy with him being engaged in the conversation when he's not being silly. Bina says, difficult at first, but worth the battle. And adults need to make the effort too. That's exactly right. I think that's where we need the adults to make the effort to realize that when you are dealing with someone who has kids at the table with us, if it is a kid-friendly event, then we need to engage these kids. These kids need to see what community looks like. They need to experience what community is. How can we expect them to go out in the streets and act right and act like they are in the community for the community when we are not even teaching them at home what being a part of the community is? Because the first community they know is home. That's the first community they know. How do we engage them in our home community? The same thing, if we don't sit them down, maybe, so now I know that after I'm reading all this, I am going to sit down with my son, and I'm challenging myself and anybody at the table who wants to take the challenge. I'm challenging us to not only sit at the table and have dinner, but to properly set the table at dinner. Just in case nobody knows how to properly set the table. It goes napkin, fork on the left of this plate, then plate, knife with the blade turned into the plate, then spoon. Your bread plate is up over your fork, and your cup is up over your knife. And you can have a bread knife or not. If you have a bread knife, you can lay it across the bread plate. That would be fine. That's an informal table setting. Napkin to the side, or you can put the napkin on top of the plate. Either way. I don't like anything stacked on top of my plate, though. Leave my plate clear. Teach the kids to set the table. So for all this week, Sunday through Saturday, he will be not, instead of playing his video games until I say, hey, dinner is ready, and then he comes when he feels like it. Nope, we're getting back to right. Set the table. How are you gonna have dinner at the dinner table when you got all your candle making stuff, all your video equipment for your tea time? You got all your soap on the table. I mean, the table is full. That's messed up. Bina says kids have a voice and should grow up knowing they contribute to conversations, right? But that is a stark change from kids should be seen and not heard, Bina. Stark change from kids should be seen and not heard. Elaine says you all need to set up separate gatherings, adult only and family or adults and children time. All adults do not wish to have conversations with children. Yes, you do want them to be engaged, but be careful to confirm with the adults you wish to be with that it is okay with them. You know what? Listen, if you invite me, I hear you, Mom, but I don't really care what all adults want to do. You invite me and my son, understand that now you have just said it's okay for him to be a part of the conversation. You tell us that dinner is at whatever time. Be here at this time. I will start serving at this time, and you have invited me and my son. Then understand that he is a part of the conversation. And if you don't make it clear, no children, then you as host are responsible for that. And I know we may disagree on this, Mom. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure if we disagree. We may, and I'm okay with that. But it's your responsibility as a host to know who you're inviting and who they're going to be bringing. And if you have an issue with them bringing kids, tell them don't bring kids. If you don't say don't bring kids, you say yes, you can bring your son, then now expect that the son is engaged. Expect that the daughter is engaged. Don't tell me, yes, I can bring my child, and then expect that my child is going to go sit off in the corner the whole day. That's not going to work for me. Also understand, if you tell me, no, I can't bring my child, I may very well not show up. If I don't have a sitter, or if I don't feel like getting a sitter, I just won't show up. My child ain't welcome, I'm not welcome either. Anthony says, what about the dessert fork or the salad fork? Yeah, so the basic setting is what I just talked about, Anthony, the basic setting. If you have a salad fork, you put the salad fork on the outside of the dinner fork because you're going to pull from the left to the right. So you would pull the salad fork first. But there are more formal settings. I just gave you a basic setting. Bina says, set boundaries. Karen says, my house, my way. If you want my child to come, then that's the package. That's us as a package. Right. Elaine says, yes, that is correct, but recognize the key words you are saying is invited. How is that different from what I said? I don't know. I said we might agree or not agree. I don't know. Rose says, yes, you're correct. I'm just thinking about how my child got scammed. Did that happen because he isn't hearing what we talk about? Right. Children need to hear these things. They don't need to hear all of our concerns. They don't, because they stress in a different way and they have a different understanding of life than what we have. So we don't need them at the table when we are talking about really intense, stressful things. So we need to save those times, that part of the conversation until the children are tired of sitting at the table and we have excused them from the table. And now we can talk about whatever we want. See, most kids are not going to want to sit at the table for hours and hours like the grown-ups do. So, at these dinner parties, everybody sits around, everybody eats. The kids get away from the table, and now everybody's sitting around having their wine or their, coffee, tea, whatever. Where everybody's just kind of relaxed now, and the kids slowly make their way away from the table, and now the conversation at the table can be adult conversation. And at that point, no, you guys were having an adult conversation. Now you guys go play. Totally acceptable. But the dinner conversation needs to be such that everybody's engaged. Rose says, I talk to my child a lot, even too much, but what I'm missing when I talk, and I think he needs to learn what we talk about because I need him to learn from responsible adults and not kids. Right. I think sometimes, Mom, a lot of people have an old school way of thinking about kids being seen and not heard. Yeah, Bina says, I agree. Kids are done and leave, right? Let them be done, let them leave, and now let the adults continue. That's how you do it. And the thing about it is, speaking to what you said, you need to have people in your life who, if you're going to bring your kids around anyway, need to have people in your life who respect the responsibilities of a parent, who appreciate the role that they're playing in that community that you're building. And they need to understand that how they interact with you is watched by the kids. And how they interact with the kids is really significant. My children grew up with their father living in a different city. I had male friends who would come and they would engage with the kids. So they always had powerful male role models in their lives because I engaged my friends at dinners and they engaged the kids. And if there was a time that I had friends who did not engage my kids, those were not friends I needed to hang around with my kids. So everybody understood, you invite me and my children, they will be a part of everything that's going on. They will play the games. They will be in the conversation. And then at some point, they will be excused and they will go play. And then now we can talk about whatever we want to talk about. Karen says our daughter was required to read the newspaper, one article for sure, and be able to talk about it or have questions. This was the first topic at dinner. That's a good idea. That is a good idea. I think I might need to start doing something like that because my son is unique. And so I have to have specific ways that I can pull conversation out of him sometimes. Now, when he's ready to talk, he's an excellent conversationalist, but I need to maybe start practicing with him. And we're going to do that this week. So maybe that's what I'll do with him as well this week is have him pull something. Maybe it'll be, you know, off of a news article that he's read online or something because we don't get a newspaper. But maybe that's what I would do with him and have him decide what the topic of the table is. I've also thought about having some topic cards at the table. Just write down a bunch of different topic cards, whether it's a game like what Crystal does with her young kids, whether it's a game or anything else that we could just have various fun topics, not so fun topics, storytelling, whatever it is, have that ready so that we can, if you don't have anything to talk about, well, let's pull from these topic cards. Let's see what these topic cards say. Why don't you pull something and make it a game? Elaine says that's an excellent thing to do, Karen. Rose says, right, I would find a sitter for that company. Right, right. When you have people who you don't need to be having around your kids, don't take them. You already know. You already know. It doesn't take but one interaction for you to know, yeah, they don't need to be around my kids. They can still be my friend, but they don't need to be around my kids. So I think that's it's so important. It's so interesting because a lot of us at the table are doing it. Not me, not me. Let's just be clear. I don't do it. I don't sit at the table. For the most part with me, it started off because my back is bothering me. I usually have a long commute home from work. And so by the time I sat in traffic, I need to relax. And so but I need to relax while the child needs to eat. So we would just sit on the couch because the couch was more comfortable for me. But I need to stop that. I need to sit at the table and eat, and then we can go to the couch afterwards. We can continue the conversation on the couch afterwards. Anyway, guys, that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. And Steve says, excluding children gifted with voices of reason, you lose the possibility of groundbreaking perspectives. We learn a lot from our kids, right? It's so interesting because my son, the youngest one, he's such a conversationalist. Now, sometimes that conversation goes way off, right? Sometimes it goes way off into loony. He is, a child. But I remember we would come home from work. His brother would come home. Or if I came home and he wasn't with me, he would say, how was your day at work, Mom? And I would say, oh, it was good. Well, what was good about it? What did you do today that was so good? You worked on contracts. Well, what did you do with those contracts? Well, that's interesting. And he would ask me all kinds of questions about what I did, digging. And I would just look at him like, oh my God. Yes, so I worked on these contracts. What we were trying to do is we were trying to engage an organization to provide these type of services. And he would look at me 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. I think he was having those conversations. Maybe he started that around 4 or 5 years old. So what did you do today? And I used to engage it because I loved it. I loved it. His older brother, though, would get irritated with the little 4 or 5-year-old. So what did you do today? What was good about it? How did you get to work? Did you ride your bike? Did you walk? His brother used to get so irritated. And I used to tell him, you can learn something from your brother. Listen to how he engages in conversations with people. Of course, now he goes off into I'm a pickle and I'm a chicken. So, we're working with him now. He's 12. Rose says, I used to do that when my child would read his new book in 2 hours, and it would be 200 pages. And I would get frustrated because I couldn't keep up with his reading. I gave away 400 books. Oh my God. Wow. Karen says, we had conversations about over Shakespeare. Make your dinner table and chairs welcoming and comfortable. That's what I need to figure out what would be comfortable. That's what I need to do. I need to figure it out. I think the table set that I have now is more comfortable than what my table set was in California. It's definitely more comfortable. I have a counter height table now, which is definitely better for me as a tall person. So, but I just have back issues. So sitting at this table for any length of time is still going to be uncomfortable, but it at least is comfortable enough for me to sit at through dinner now. So I have no excuse really. And I'm not in an hour commute home. So I have no excuse really. Just lazy. That's what it is. Just lazy. But I have engaged him in dinner prep. A lot of times I'll have him, okay, can you make the salad? And lately, this past week, he's been making dinner. Mom, can I cook some fish? Yes, you can. Cook your fish. That's right. I'll set the table. You get the dinner cooked, I'll set the table. So we're talking about ways to get back to community building. And a lot of times we come to the table and there's something that one or the other of us, girl, Adrian, Adrian says H.M. was the sweetest little boy. I could never believe he was as young as he was. Girl, but H.M. is losing his mind now, Adrian. He's still very sweet, but he's 12, you know. Sweet at 12 looks very different than sweet at 5. It really does. Anyway, we're building community at this table. We are getting back in touch with old practices. We are challenging ourselves to reach out more, to reach in more, to reach in more, to let our purpose find us. We are challenging ourselves to do better, to be better. We cannot expect positive change outside in the world if we don't change positively in our own world. Inside, I was going to, like in this whole world, inside these doors, in my family, and then, my extended family and community. This is how we make change. We make change from the inside out. There's a lot of things that's going on. And despite everything else that's going on, we do still need to make changes in ourselves. Not being responsible for the ugly that's thrown at us. No, I'm not even talking about that. Because whether there are racists out there or not, I still have growth. I still need to grow in a lot of ways, regardless of racism, regardless of coronavirus, regardless of everything else going on out there. There are still ways that I need to grow. So we are not going to be so blind to everything else so that we're only focused on one thing. We're going to still be looking towards making the changes out in the world, making sure that we are calling the racists to the table, making sure that we are putting them on blast, making sure that we are taking care of ourselves with regard to coronavirus, making sure we are wearing our masks and washing our hands and 5,000 million times, washing our hands 20 seconds, sing the ABCs all the way through. We're doing all of that. And while we're doing all of that, we're still looking inside and how can I change? And how has everything going on changed me? Has it been for the good or has it not been for the good? There's a lot of positive things that have come out of all, like Elaine was talking about in her book. Look, I'm trying to remember. The caterpillar and the butterfly, new beginnings. We weather the storm, and then what after the storm? And we are kind of in that storm right now. What after the storm? So although the caterpillar not be planning for butterfly life, we need to be planning for butterfly life. We know that this is not the end, that all of this mess that's going on is not the end. And so we do something simple, so simple. Come back and sit at the table at dinner time. If we have been falling off, some of you have not been, I have. Some of you have not been. Some of you, like Crystal, you've had the kids at the table and you're not at the table. If you've fallen off at all, baby steps towards getting back on the right track. Maybe you don't sit down at the dinner table 7 days a week. Maybe your goal is to do that for at least, not only, but at least 3 days this week. Maybe that's your goal. My goal is to really do it 7 days this week. I'm not commuting back and forth to work. I have to force myself to do it. 7 days this week, I am going to have him set the table, or I set the table, depending on who's cooking dinner. We're going to set the table, we're going to sit at the table, and we're going to have dinner. 7 days. And I'm going to let you know how I did. I will be honest. We're getting back to self and to family and to community. And that's really what's going to get us through everything that we're going through right now, is to really find the strength. Find this strength that Winston Churchill was talking about. The virtues of humanity are created at home. How many times do you say that child has had that? Those people have no home training. We are focusing on home training. That's what we're doing, because all of our home training is carried out into the streets. That's what we're doing. So I want to thank you guys. I see you, Rose. I want to thank you guys for joining me this morning. I want to thank you for joining me on YouTube as well as regularly here on Facebook. Where is Suli? I have not seen Suli. I didn't see Suli yesterday. Bina, where is Suli? Is Suli good? We're reaching out to Suli. I got to send a check-in note to Suli. I didn't see her yesterday, and she wasn't on here today. We need a check-in. So I want to thank you for being here. We're going to be on schedule tomorrow. I think I'm going to try to do YouTube again tomorrow. I want to eventually move everything over to YouTube. So if you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe so that you can watch the live feed on YouTube and I don't have to keep doing this looking like a crazy person. There's no way for me, or if there's a way, I haven't figured it out, how to stream to both via one device. All right. Thank you, Bina. Thank you, Bina. So join me here tomorrow. We'll be here at our regular time, 7, 9, and 10. I need my small business owners to pick a date. I have Bina. Where you at? I need you to be on here. Rose, where you at? I need you to be on here. Adrian, I don't think you're doing small business stuff, but if you are, I need you to be on here. I need everybody who's doing small business stuff to pick a date. I have already the 18th of July taken and the 11th of July taken. I need to have, good morning, Susanna. I need to have the 4th, if anybody wants to do the 4th, and then the end of July and August. I still have all of August that's open to having discussion with a small business owner on a Saturday. So I need you here. Susanna, good morning. We're going to get off now. But Susanna, I don't know if you got the notice, but I am on YouTube now as well. I'm trying to go live on YouTube. Eventually, I'm going to switch everything to going live on YouTube because of the stance that Facebook is taking on a couple of things that I don't agree with. I would like to eventually kind of quickly move completely over to YouTube instead of doing my talks on Facebook. I don't want to continue to support Zuckerberg. So thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for bearing with me with my movement here, trying to give eye contact, right? We got to teach our kids eye contact too. So we are going to be here tomorrow, regular time. I will see you here. Please stay safe. Stay safe. I know I can't say stay home anymore, but social distancing is important. The coronavirus numbers are rising. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. We're still dealing with this. We're dealing more and more with a lot of Black people being a target of racist. There was a woman who was burned. I don't remember where she was, but she was driving down the street and some white guys threw something into the car. She got burned. She didn't die, but she suffered 2nd and 3rd degree burns. So maybe drive with your windows up at this point so people aren't throwing stuff in your car. Be safe out there. Be safe. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. Social distance. The 4th of July is coming up. Please do not drop your guard. I don't want any of y'all talking about I went to the barbecue on the 4th and I got coronavirus on the 5th. I tested positive for coronavirus on the 5th. I don't want that. Please stay mindful. This is not the time to let your guard down. This is the time to invest in yourself more than anything else. So, and investing in yourself means social distance. Stay away from everybody else. Anyway, that's enough of my health public service announcement. But I care about you. I care about you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for bearing with me. I will see you here tomorrow. I believe I don't have any meetings scheduled for our regular time, so it will be 7, 9, and 10. And I will see you both on YouTube and on Facebook. So whichever place you want to join, hopefully you go over to YouTube and subscribe there so that I see you there more than here. Okay. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow.